Hey guys, it's Matt. Before chapter 49, a few things regarding the last video, which was about truth drops or truth reveals in movies. I was watching Levette's most recent video. I think she's still locked out of her larger channel. Thanks, Google. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Celestial Voyages is where she's broadcasting from now on YouTube. I'll leave a link. But go to the 10-minute mark and watch or listen to Levette break down Stephen King's It and what that really means. Makes me look like it's my first day of school over here. But I'll leave a link. Now look, I just wanted to mention a few things before I do the chapter reading. I do want to reiterate again, we are in some sort of race against time going on here. And don't take that as fear-mongering. It's just the opposite. You might not be into the astrology like as discussed by channels like Levette and others, but there is some sort of weird transition period we're in, no matter how you break it down. You feel it, don't you? I feel it. And all the ridiculous shenanigans put forth in the news and this ridiculous act and play that they're trying to keep looking real, trying to keep up, and it's kind of like they're saying to themselves in the back room, we don't need to do this much longer. We just have to keep this bullshit up a little bit longer until we get to this point. Is it that Saturn-Jupiter conjunction? Is it the astrology? It could be. Sure. It doesn't matter, again, whether you're into that or not, or what potentially will happen on a winter solstice in 2020. It doesn't matter. You can feel it. There's just something going on where these games, this endless bullcrap, cannot go on forever. Before the fake Trump-Hillary election on my old channel, I think it was the old channel, yeah, it was the Texas Shrug channel, I was saying, look, reality can't hide anymore. Reality in a tremendous way is going to be revealed, and oh my goodness, was it. I just sensed that. Now, I'm not nearly the person I was then. I wore 50 veils then that I don't wear now. I probably still have 50 on that I got to remove. But I just sensed it. Reality can't hide any longer. And then the buffoon Trump went in. If Hillary went in, the reality would have been revealed in the same way also. But it's the same thing now. I wrote, let me just give you an example. Downstairs, I wrote, most recent septic system pump out was May of this year, May of 2019. The township, you've got to do it every 3 years. They threaten to fine you and all that, but it is a good practice. People should pump their septics out. Anyway, but I just thought to myself, if we're supposed to do this every 3 years, the next one would be May of 2022. And I thought, think about that. What will the world look like in 2022 or going into the summer of 2022? I just think now I've said this before and I've been wrong. I thought, what's 2019 going to look like? We'll be running around the streets trying to look for our last bit of canned goods when I thought the economic collapse was coming. But really, in this case, there's just no way the world will be the same as it is now, in my opinion, in 2022. No way. It's just this ridiculous charade, the Shakespeare play being put on, can't go on forever. Can't be just another act of the same old thing, and the people around us just go back to sleep, and something's got to break, good or bad. And I just remind people, the channels that push, this can be very positive. People talk about going into the Aquarian age. Again, whether that's your thing or not, if the cement is very wet right now, we can harden it in the way we want it. We can set reality the way we want it. Not let these George Bush creatures pervert the reality and set the reality that they want. So reject any YouTube channel that pushes fear. If they wanted us dead, they would have us dead a long time ago. They need us. You kidding me? They need us. You could say for fuel, for loosh, for millions of different things, not just to build bridges and serve them coffee. They wanted us dead. The Ebola scare is coming up again all over the place. And I don't even watch the news. It's in media and movies and these YouTube channels. If a truth channel is pushing fear, hardcore, never-ending fear, it is absolutely either of the system itself as a knowing graduated animal farm, or many people are trying the best they can, but they're completely being used and manipulated, just totally being played without being aware of it. Either way, it's a very, very tainted thing you shouldn't associate yourself with. Any YouTube channel that just pushes constant fear, end of the world, that they are actually helping to manifest it. I believe that, and they're being used. Reject them because they're either in on it or they're just completely misguided, and you shouldn't put your energy into it either. And relating the last video to the chapters of the book, if you agree we all have self-work to do here, then don't just say you agree, actually start doing the work. If you agree that even in the Truth in Movies video, look deep within yourself, Clarice, is actually a profound truth delivered in the movie, whether they were knowingly, consciously aware of it or not. Truth sometimes comes out through art. That's how this world and universe works. If you see it, then start practicing it. For example, what I relate, look deep within yourself, the kindergarten level to start, and we all have a lot of self-work to do, would be, think of all when I was doing the fear videos years ago, and that's how many of us progress through truth. Oh, the economic collapse is coming. Oh, let's prep in every single way because from the movie The Road, the armed bandits are coming, and the humongous gang is coming. Just walk away. They're coming to get our canned goods, and Ebola's coming, and all the viral agents are coming to kill us. And look, like I've said many times, if they wanted to kill us, they would have killed us a long time ago. Okay, but people, we have an addiction. Look deep within yourself. Let's do the work now. Why are we addicted to these topics, these very, very dark topics? If people were looking forward to my Truth in Movies breakdown, I think that's a fascinating topic. And if somebody made that video, I'd want to look forward to it too. But I'm saying back in the day, the old Texas channel, I'm about to deliver, or they could tell in the title, I'm going to deliver very, very dark information. Okay? Very playing into the hands of exactly what this control structure wanted me to do. And people are making comments like they're so excited that my video is coming up. It's like, well, wait a second, your frame of mind isn't right. This is like, from the comments, it's like an addiction. It's like you can't wait for me to deliver the horrible news where I'm talking about millions dead. Like, you shouldn't be so excited. You might kind of like, hold your nose and like, I got to hear this. But we're all addicted to it. Okay, again, we are. But so, and this is kindergarten graduation. It's to know thy enemy and study it, but in a cold, calculated way, not in a way that wants to wrap torches in oil-soaked rags and go fight it with the emotion and the anger that it wants. So let's practice what we preach here. If we have to do work on ourselves, then let's start working on ourselves. We shouldn't get excited and be thrilled when certain truth channels are serving up videos today about how they are going to deliver Ebola on us that's going to kill 30 or 40 million people, and other dark subjects. And because there's a lot of new people here, let me just a few minutes on the economic collapse that never comes and why it never comes and what I think is going on, which when I put this theory out, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago now, it's proven to be true because this thing never comes. And this is all by design. So again, I should do another hour-long video. Like every year I do a kind of a one on this that's called Why the Economic Collapse Never Comes. But in 2013, 14, 15, I just like everybody else, we knew it was inevitable. I absolutely believed it was inevitable, and I was watching the SGT report every day and looking for ways to try to buy silver, which I never did. And you need money to buy silver, but never. But I did canning and prepping and water filtration prepping and things like that. It was inevitable. So Bill Holter would come on the Greg Hunter report, and this economic collapse was inevitable, and it just never came. And it kind of hit me what was happening, and I just can only do a few minutes here. I've got to get to the chapter, but there is no real system anymore. For those, meaning that the supply and demand, real supply and demand, real market forces were simply replaced by some sort of a simulation that operates on a supercomputer that can inject capital and money wherever it needs to be injected off the books, so the system just maintains itself. We were right, okay, in terms of if we believed that what the markets, if we believe the markets were real, with real people investing in real companies, investing their own money, and people with the ability to pull out, and the markets are just being propped up by real things and real people with their money, then it would have collapsed a long time ago. No doubt about it. So we were right, okay, that the economic collapse was inevitable, but our assumptions were completely wrong. For example, if we're looking up at the Golden Gate Bridge right after it was constructed with these huge, 1,000-ton girders and steel and rivets the size of Mack trucks, and you would say, well, how long will that last? You'd say, this is just the opposite. We saw how flimsy the economic system was, but it's the opposite scenario. But hear me out. We would say, oh, that bridge is going to, without even any maintenance, is going to last 200 years. Now, we'd be right if it was actually constructed of steel. But as we approached it, we went, wait a second, this is made out of like the same stuff that egg cartons are made out of. Oh my God, it's just styrofoam and egg cartons. So we'd say, well, this thing's not even going to last a month. So it's the opposite with the economic collapse. We were basing all of our assumptions that everything was real, everything they told us in school about supply and demand, and money managers are just deciding whether to pull their money out or no. We didn't understand what was behind the screen's presentation. There's nothing real there. It's just basically like a Whopper supercomputer, in my opinion, like war games. That's why none of these big companies ever go out of business. 20 of them would have gone out of business. 30 of them would have gone out of business. The system just injects. It's all being played out on the supercomputer, in my opinion. And if it crashes, if the market crashes 4,000 or 5,000 points tomorrow for whatever reason, in my opinion, it won't be because real market forces and real people pulled money out. It be because that's what the Joshua Whopper simulation needs to show people, so they still believe it's real. Okay, so I'll do another video on that in the future. But I put these videos out starting about 3 years ago, and the economic collapse isn't here, so in my opinion, the theory was right. There's just no way anything's real is left in this economic system. Just think of it like a simulation running on a supercomputer. Anyway, I've got to move on to the chapter. One tiny last thing before the chapter. The overarching theme in all of this, guys, is if we are in a transition period, get yourself right, get your house in order before the cement dries. Okay? Just think of it in very simple terms. Get your mind right before the cement dries. And just think of the progression of Luke in the first 3 Star Wars. Just this kid running around and trying to get with his friends, and then the last, the third one, the Return of the Jedi, I guess it was. He had become the master, calm. No situation fazed him. Even in confronting the absolute evil Darth Vader, not scared. Almost pitied the creature, tried to help him. I still see good in you, Father. Think of the progression. That's where we need to get. That's probably why they're ruining the Star Wars franchise. For truth like that. That's the mindset we need to get. Just above it all. No matter what happens, above it all. Even if they can, they want to drop their karma bomb, pay their karma price for the next 400 million years, and the Ebola scare, and people are running around outside your house trying to steal your canned goods. I don't think they can play that out. We have to do it to ourselves. Even if some people is running up and down your driveway trying to steal your firewood. So what? I mean, first of all, they can't do that unless we manifest it on ourselves. Believe that, and it won't come to fruition. But even if something does, if there's just a few mutants left here, and the collective conscious they have under their control, and they're going to use all the dummies around us to manifest anything they want, well, so what? No matter what happens, just like basically like it's just kind of popping. A truth drop is kind of popping up to me. The scene in the Titanic where the violinist and the cello player, it's going down, and shall we have one more concerto, gentlemen? And they start playing. I don't believe that ever happened. No way. It's like a truth drop. You're really going to play your fiddles. They're that mature as evolved humans that the thing's going down to their sure death, and they're just going to play their fiddles. They're not going to look when there's lifeboats, there's things that could float. No way. No way 3 guys or 4 people played their fiddles while the thing sunk. Absolutely not. It gets back to fiddling while Rome burns. But that would be the mindset. Absolutely. That would be the mindset if something major did happen. Do we have ourselves in such shape? Have we been this truther PT, physical training we've been going through? Or have we been stuck on the original Animal Farm, just talking about the same fake events? Or we have actually improved ourselves to where if there was that sort of cataclysm around us, without clawing somebody down the back and ripping their hair out to get their last lifeboat and punching them in the back of the head to get their last scrap of food, could we be big enough to just one more concerto, to actually just be so confident in ourselves that we are immortal beings that we just play our violin while Rome burned around us? This is the mental place we need to be, which is more like Luke in the third movie. The third movie from the 80s, not the turds they serve up now that are made bad on purpose. I guess there's a reading to do at some point. Chapter 49, title: Government is not the system itself. Government is just a tool of the system. Government is not the end or the terminus. Now, if government is a tool of the system and the main delivery device of what is behind the manipulation of, quote, mankind, then today, in 2019, that tool, the tool of government, is the Incredible Hulk wielding Paul Bunyan's axe in one hand and Thor's hammer in the other. It is a completely out of control Jabba the Hutt government in 2019. People in 1820 would not believe what a Jabba the Hutt on steroids this government has become. Of course, it's not just the United States. The European Union, or EU, is an even fatter, more useless beast. Now, useless from our perspective, very useful in accomplishing what the George Bush creatures want to accomplish, even though it's so fat it can't even sit up. But useless from our perspective. It's a useless thing that they tell us is by and for the people. Are you kidding me? By and for the people. It's like somebody shoving something up my ass, and I turn around and going, what are you doing? It's by and for you, buddy. Are you kidding? The joke. Prime ministers and presidents exist so people think they're at the very top of who runs things, which takes the focus off looking for what is really in control, or understanding the true nature of reality itself. The endless scandals with presidents and politicians are put there on purpose to pull your attention and to draw you away from whatever is really screwing us over. Matt, are you saying most of the scandals are fake? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. It is a theater at this point. The weird image on the back of the dollar bill is a visual depiction of reality that has been created for the masses. The top of the pyramid glows with enlightenment, and it's separated from the rest of the pyramid, the way Barbra Streisand doesn't want the homeless on her Malibu beach. The quote system, which is manifested through the society that's all around us, which I call the 360-degree screen, it has many tools to deceive and to manipulate and distract and to cause fear, anxiety, and all the stuff that it does and puts into your ass. But its proverbial Incredible Hulk, its ultimate tool, is government itself, and more specifically, central or federal government. Now, governments at local levels may actually yield to the will of the people a few times every year and bring forth a tiny degree of common sense from time to time, and we can't have that, can we? But those small governments, they can't really do anything anymore. The feds have taken 99 point whatever % of control away. You can, I guess, local governments are just left to decide where the next kid's Easter egg hunt is going to take place. That's about all local levels do anymore. The controlling entity, though, is not government itself. Government is just the enactment and enforcement Godzilla the parasites use to push the slave system agenda on everybody. And overall, it's been beautifully crafted by them. People actually go to the polls every 2 years and ask for more of it to be inserted into their ass. In what's probably a metaphysical contract, things they can't even see or perceive, people allow themselves to be oppressed because they voted for it. That permission is of tremendous benefit to the controllers in combating what I call the cosmic rules of karma. More on that later. Did you ever stop to consider why in almost all countries, especially in the West, the central or federal government always grows larger and more like Darth Vader's empire year after year, at the expense of local representation, of course? The annual spending of the U.S. federal government is somewhere around $4 trillion. For what? What do you get? Yeah, what do you get for that astronomical spending? The average citizen gets almost nothing. This is unfathomable to most people that have never thought it through. $4 trillion a year, you get almost nothing. Could there be anybody at this point in the book who still thinks the political structure we learned about in 8th grade civics was real? The New World Order already exists, and perhaps has always existed. One world system is here now. Now, guys, I'm sure I'll get to it in this chapter, but in case I don't, if you're not over age 65 getting Medicare, for example, so you get almost nothing for $4 trillion a year. I'll return to it later. So the one world system's here. It's here. If a fleet of predator aliens descended on the Earth, like in the movie Independence Day, and they parked giant ships over our biggest cities, they'd look down on us and say, wait a second, we're too late. Someone's already been here and invaded these people a long time ago. Look, they've been given illegal narcotics and other addictions, and the other half are on legal prescription medications. Their entire family units have been destroyed. Look down at them. All they do is fight and bicker with each other. These motherfuckers are divided among race, religion, politics, economics, gender, and sexuality. They argue with that little thing that how do they reproduce? That little thing comes out. They argue about rights as to where they need to stick that thing. They even bicker in that area. These are a bunch of dumb motherfuckers. Look, there are parades all over that giant country today, and a bigger one in San Francisco, where the entire purpose of the parade is to show people where they like to stick that thing. Sir, I suggest we not waste our time on these peoples. Someone already did a better job than we could ever hope to do. What matters is what part of the system's goals we can identify. We don't know the mechanism or the machine delivering the cucumber in your butt. We don't need to know the who, what, when, where, why, and how of all that. That's chasing breadcrumbs. We've been over that. It's just identifying the goals. What does it want? What does it do, this man you seek? Once we see its tentacles, what we do about it's easy. We must recognize its intention and ask, what does that particular tentacle want from us? Like Hannibal Lecter asked Clarice in trying to help her catch Buffalo Bill, I've said it a million times, what does he do, this man you seek? Meaning, what is the tentacle's true nature and root motivations? Of course, it's easy to see the system wants you to behave in a certain way. So go beyond that. Whatever is represented by the very top of the pyramid needs something from you. Okay, it wants me to behave in a certain way, but why? Understand it then, and do the opposite of what it wants, no matter what it is. In a ridiculous example, we remember the ridiculous examples. I see a tentacle coming at me. I think that's one of these tentacles Matt talks about as to what this government, the control mechanism of the screen, wants me to do. It wants me to what? It wants me to put relish on my hot dog? Well, I always liked relish, but I can see the system's tentacle wants me to do it, so I ain't going to do it. I'll just use mustard. Dumb, but you might remember it. Never feed the tentacle what it wants. There are two levels here. Most people can't even see the tentacle trying to take pieces of themselves and looking for your consent to do so. Most people around us don't see anything. Just completely oblivious. This is the best a modern society can do. It's buy-in for the people. Well, how do you know that? Well, they talked about the Constitution before the Super Bowl, which they did 4 or 5 years ago. I'm going off the book here. Actually presented and read part of the Bill of Rights or the preamble of the Constitution before the Super Bowl 4 or 5 years ago. How sick was that? I mean, talk about putting it in our faces. To most people, again, this is just the best a complicated modern society can do for itself. A few people like us can separate themselves from friends and family, and a few people like us, the mutants, can actually see the tentacles coming at them, even without the they live glasses. The absolute basics. We can keep saying, oh, I agree, Matt, we need to do self-work, and then not do anything, or we can actually start doing it. Never give it your energy, fear, or attention. The screen around us. Never give it your emotions. Never embrace its tentacle like most of your friends and family will just line up to do. For example, through the puppet, which is Donald Trump and his Supreme Court nominees, the system will, again, introduce the war on women concept. Again. It will then arrange a bunch of women's organizations and women's marches so you can go join a group and protest against the injustice. An injustice that's made for TV, cooked up baloney in the first place. If you participate in the march, it's exactly what the system wants and feeds on. There are hundreds of less obvious examples. The 3-hour red carpet spectacle before the Oscars is a good one. What? Matt, what are you saying? Me watching the red carpet spectacle is feeding the system somehow? Yes, that's exactly right. But only if you watch it in a certain way. I did watch it, but I watched it to study the system. I watched it this year to study my adversary, not to be allured by whatever that little pipsqueak Ryan Seacrest was running around doing. It's how you watch it. It's what energy and attention you give it. It's how you feed it. Doesn't mean you have to run from it. The best way to think about the control structure or whatever the reality generation machine here that animates the screen, that wants us to do certain things, basically trying to steal our humanity while we're trying to hold on to it, is just literally think of it as some sort of monster. Do you remember those dark robes sucking things in the Harry Potter movies? Dementors? We don't know what it is exactly, but our actions are best guided by creating that metaphor. That it's a dementor, the system itself. It's a monster. So think of your anger, your energy, your fear, your attention, and your emotions as the most valuable currency you will ever possess from the perspective of the controlling parasites. The massive low level of constant anxiety they create in billions is a between-meal snack that's always available in their minibar. You know, they really want to harness the nasty emotion, but overall, you know, when they can't get that just level of anxiety they've placed in billions, maybe about whether you can pay that tax bill or where the next meal's coming from or if you're going to get laid off, that low level anxiety is just like a snack they can reach up and feed on at any time. It's all, you know, when you this society doesn't have to exist this way. 80 to 90% of our worry could have been removed a long time ago. It's there because they want it there. They care not for your money, for they can make as much of it as they want, whenever they want. At the federal level, taxation is like 90% about obedience and control and consent and contracts. It's not about money. A little bit is, but 90% of it is not. At local levels, okay, it's more about money. They might need money locally. You know, they need to complete their essential wasteful projects. Since we'll never likely find the final Russian nesting doll in this system, we will never be able to go far enough upriver to find its source or terminus. We can then learn to spot what part of it manifests down at our level on the pyramid, where the great unwashed hang out, the proletariat, the profane. The good news is today, their fart is smellier than it was in years past. That's good news. It really is. Because when you smell it, you can move away from it or run from it. Before, most of our friends and family, we were no different, just taking gigantic whiffs. The fart was just, like the dinosaur fart it was like thick and green, and we were just taking giant breaths and didn't notice anything wrong at all. But now we can smell it, can't we? And if you can smell it, move the opposite way. Now the culprit who let it rip on the elevator, they can't hide any longer in the crowd. Always look for the symptoms of the control structure as it's delivered to us in its many forms. As you can read the matrix code, you'll easily be able to see it, as most people listening to this now can spot it instantly now. Rule number one, the absolute basics. The main product the drug dealer of the system wants us to snort divides those who do his drugs into camps, and the side effect is to hate anybody not in the same camp that you are. The entire society is structured to place human beings into subpens and camps and slice and dice endlessly. It is best for the system if those in camp number one really hate those in camp number two and vice versa. I saw Ed Schultz pop up on RT the other day, and I wanted to throw my monitor out the window, that disgusting creature, Ed Schultz. Now, I realize this is the emotion they want. It's classic divide and conquer. They literally feed off the camps hating each other and eat the energy and frequency created by millions of haters that freely give away their emotion. Now, here are the pieces of the bait that the system puts on the hook, and it wants you to gobble each of these up. And I go over each camp. Camp 1 is their old mainstay. It's old faithful. They can run back whenever they need it. It's all about race, the camp of race. They love it. For example, the system wants black people pissed off, so it says, here you go, sign up for this, Black Lives Matter, and sign up for all these similar groups, all you minorities. It's here to divide us. It's all it's here to do, divide us, on purpose. White groups aren't allowed to exist. Can't start a white group, but see, that's all by design as well, to divide us. White people talking amongst white people for many, many years going, what would they do if we started not the United Negro College Fund, but the College Fund for white people? So they don't allow that, and they bitch and complain. It's all by design, okay? Every bit of it. Don't fall for it. Don't ever say, why don't they allow white groups to? Because that's what they want white people talking about. Got it? Where was I? Don't ever join a camp. 99% of people in Black Lives Matter are good people, I'm sure, who just think they're supporting the oppressed and fighting the system and fighting the man. They think that. They're fooled like most people are. However, they're doing exactly what the system wants. They've taken the bait. The concept of the man was created by the system itself, given to them. It's bait. Here we go. Sure, racism exists all over the place. You've got to make these politically correct, balanced comments. Racism exists on all sides. But the system takes race, it takes a racist spark, and it feeds fuel and air into it, so it becomes a forest fire. Are you saying, Matt, that the control structure creates racism on purpose? Really? Of course I'm saying that. It's obvious when you take a step back and you just watch CNN a few nights in a row to see how they fuel that fire. Most racism does not arise organically at ground level. It's actually created by the controllers. Then the system offers solutions that further divide us, so we all hate each other. It's problem, reaction, fucked up solution. Vice presidents of diversity then in big corporations actually don't help the situation. They're there to fuel racism. Let me repeat that. Many big companies actually have a vice president of diversity. Somebody running around making $200,000 plus a year. Of course, it's not a white person. It's never a white person. Why not? Would a white person in that role be incapable of diversity? Okay. It fuels racism. That person is now, are they in on it? No, they have no idea how they're bowing down and doing exactly what the system wants, but it fuels racism. I'm trying to explain this the best I can. That's just going to go over the heads of anybody that would stumble upon this information when it's so clear to most of the old guard listening to this. Now, white people working in the big corporations look at these useless twits, these vice presidents of diversity, and whether the workers are consciously aware of it or not, the white people are saying, this fuck is making about $200,000 a year doing nothing. Now, I'm sure just about every black person reading this is taking this the wrong way, because that's what you've been conditioned to do. Did I just give you an excuse to hate me so you don't have to keep listening and believing all this crazy crap put forth by truthers about the system? I don't have 50 pages every time to be politically correct, admitting over and over that racism still exists so I can keep all readers on my side. I'm sorry. This is the truth of reality. It's no more, no less. I'm asking you to acknowledge that the Freddie Gray type racism, That's all over CNN. The stuff we hear about all over the news, and how they just force feed it to us, how horrible racism still is in this country. It's all fueled bullcrap. It's all fakery. It's not real. The Trayvon Martin case is fake. What does that mean? No, doesn't George Zimmerman, wasn't he a shooter? No, it's fake. I'm done taking the bait of the system. Are you? Certain producers, movie producers like Spike Lee, are lauded for producing more black-hating white racism movies. If you can get black people to hate white people, you're given an Oscar. How many black people wanted to hug my white ass after watching Do the Right Thing after we got out of the movie together? The subliminal message in that movie? Do the right thing and go burn down your own local Sal's famous pizzeria as long as it's owned by a white person. Yeah, politically incorrect stuff, guys. I'm not supposed to say these things in society. Well, too bad. The entire way the system presents race through all media, through all aspects of the screen, all around us, since birth, is to divide us. Okay? And 100% of it is all on purpose. 99 point whatever percent of the minions carrying out and carrying the baton of the screen, like Spike Lee, are not in on it. They are unknowing participants, most of them. Now, if we hate each other, it feeds the energy to the monster, literally. Here are the facts. The last 15 years or so has brought more focus on race than anyone under 65 years old can ever remember. And they lived through the Watts riots, the Compton riots, they lived through Malcolm X. The last 15 years has brought horrible setbacks in race relations. Now, how is that possible if anything is real and 100% of the society is not crafted construct? It's all on purpose. From Obama saying to Connecticut, the cops acted badly or whatever, they arrested that professor because a black person couldn't possibly live in a posh home like that. I mean, is everybody in on it? No. I don't know how they pull all this stuff off. All we need to do is realize it's faked, and it's exactly what the system wants to deliver to us, and how it wants us to react to us. Who's in on it, or what breadcrumb was handled in what way by who, it doesn't matter. Forget the who, what, when, where, why, and how. From Freddie Gray to Trayvon Martin, it's all planned, faked, and orchestrated. Now, how horrible race relations, how is horrible race relations even possible after a black president supposedly received well over 50% of the white vote? It's not possible. Racial problems are cooked up and created. The parasites feed off of it. Do you really think that every white cop in the country wakes up in the morning just praying for a situation that will present itself to him or her so they have an excuse or an opportunity to kill a black person? That's almost what the news would have all of us believing. It's a script. Don't fall for it. Why is it always a young black man that they go after? Don't these 5 million racist white cops want to shoot old black men as well, like the mayor and Do the Right Thing? Why don't they want to shoot old black women, like Mother's sister from Do the Right Thing? There are real incidents of racisms, of course. There are real incidents of cops acting very badly. However, the biggest stories on the news in this regard are faked. The so-called minority races, black, Asian, Latino, etc., are encouraged by the system to divide into separate camps whenever possible. And going away from the book for a second, just think of the term minority races. You think that just came about organically? People chose to use that word in crafting a news report, if reporters were acting under their own volition? No, this is another system-generated term, minority. That really makes you feel really wonderful that you're a minority race. This is all system-generated on purpose. The system supports these organizations that minorities want to put themselves in, because for every degree of unity they create for themselves, proportionally pushes away the other races. It's so obvious. From La Raza to the Puerto Rican Day Parade in New York, all of this hurts race relations. Black comedians who make race 80% of their jokes, like Chris Rock, are celebrated in this system as gods. Race movie makers like Spike, I'm going to call him Spice Lee. That was a Freudian slip. Like Spike Lee are lauded over others. Oh, they're just bowed down to. Just throw them in a Capital One commercial with Samuel L. Jackson and Charles Barkley. The three of them, two others that believe that everything cooked up by the man, and just everything's about race, and they put all three of them together in the Capital One commercials. It's all by design. Now, all three of them are likable individuals. I love Spike Lee in those commercials. He seems overall like a likable guy, but I don't like what he's doing. I don't like what he's promoting for the system. Charles Barkley is incredible, likable. But he'll go on the racist tant and go off as well. He's brainwashed. He believes all of this crap that the system feeds him. So does Samuel L. He believes it all. Okay? Where was I? Everyone who participates in these race-based groups thinks they're doing the right thing for equality, when all they're doing is getting everyone else, especially white people, to hate them. To a degree, this is true. The white people who still carry around a degree of racism would improve their behavior toward minorities if all this racial bullcrap and camps didn't exist. Yes, if 1,000 things, from Black Lives Matter to Black History Month, and on a job application, there's a separate part nationally on a job application that asks if you're a Latino. If all of this stuff just went away, race relations would improve dramatically overnight. Okay, that is 100% accurate. Now, if you don't see it or believe it, it's because you've been brainwashed. That can't be correct. If every diversity officer in corporate America was thrown out on the street on their ass, race relations would improve inside the company. If minorities want whites to see them as not minorities, first off, stop using the word minority. We're all equal. Why would you say a minority? Why would the system call them minorities? We're all supposed to be equal. We are equal. If minorities want whites to see them as not minorities, why are there 100 manifestations of the system calling attention to minorities all day long as groups needing special attention? Think about it. The system calls attention to it every day. Black History Month, February, I believe it is, and everything else. And black people go along with it. All the races go along with it. They take the system's bait. The gangster rappers who think they are the biggest rebels of the system are actually the biggest conformers, playing the exact divide and conquer role the system wants them to play. Look at the term itself, minority, like I said. I guarantee it was brought down from Mount Olympus by the system from some think tank. A think tank that was set up to impose mechanisms to just simply divide and conquer us on purpose. That brings us then, I guess, to the majority race, the white devils. Inside white, you have one group inside of this classification called white. You have one group that's so evil, so perverse, they oppress their own kind. The anathema of the physical known universe is old white men. When Darth Vader's helmet was finally removed, was anybody surprised it was an old white man? Did George Lucas consider for one moment to use Lolo Sotoro's face, Obama's stepfather, or perhaps James Earl Jones's real face behind the mask? No way. Spike Lee's face would have been funny as shit if Darth Vader's mask would have come off and Luke was looking down at his father, Spike Lee. But no one would have ever believed that he could be controlling a galactic empire. He would have been too focused on other things, like being insistent that all stormtrooper shells must be repainted to any color but white. Spike Vader, all we have is 400 million gallons of pink. Fine, go with it. Go with it, man. Just get rid of the white before the Emperor arrives. I don't want him to see that. Just think about how the system would break down and cry if we threw away all of these camps and we just lived with everyone else being the same. Some people are wonderful. Some people are scumbags. The color of their skin don't mean shit. Sorry, minority groups. That means no more parades if you want to move things forward. Guys, I have many more camps. The next chapter I'll have to do the rest of the system camps, politics, gender, all the camps. I don't have any more time to do that here. But if there's any, what the system would call you, a minority. So if there's any minorities listening to this that were actually offended by that, thinking that that was some sort of racist presentation, you have a lot of work to do. You wear veils that you can't even understand. You just aren't even close to being where you need to be. If you thought that presentation was racist, you don't have a clue.